Cool.
Okay, cool. Hi guys. So we are going to be going through this process. What we're going to do is I'll share with you, because like I said, I do this every year, sometimes with other people, sometimes by myself. And basically this has become the way I do my Bible study. So I'm going to show you how this has helped me, and I'm also going to show you how it works. And then we'll talk about what we need for it, and we'll talk about managing obstacles. And then we will talk about what do you need to. So by the time we get to this part here, which says what we need, you want to start thinking about your calendar for the year, your general activities for the week, etc., so that you can see when we're talking about what we need, because it's towards the end, we're going to talk about forming a team. So we can form a team on this platform, or you can form a team somewhere else where it may be more convenient for you. And then at the end of the whole presentation, I'll just give one last important reminder, which I think is probably the most important part. As we go down through the process, if you have a question, just if you can sit on your question, that would be lovely. But I will stop along the way 2 or 3 times for questions and contributions, and then we can have a discussion as we. So now, so I'll just tell you my story. So before, look, I've been a Christian for a long time. Since I was 13 years old, I think I've been a Christian. But my spiritual life was really quite up and down. But I was very much helped by different people. I just can't mention it, because if I go through step by step, it will take a long time. But what I can say is I had different encounters with different people who sort of really impacted me positively. And this is what I'm hoping to, so it's really changed the way I approach God, the way I approach the Bible, the way I approach my life. It's been lovely. So yeah, so let's not waste time on that. So this was the way my life was before. This is how my devotional life went. When I woke up, it was basically, look, if I don't have to pray, I wouldn't. I'm just praying because they say we should, but it was basically a burden. It wasn't, I don't think it was something I was looking forward to. You know, when I've got a football game I want to watch, when I've got an interesting phone call to have, I'm jittery. I want to do it. That's not how I felt about my study of the Bible. That's not how I felt about seeking to understand or pray to God and all that. That's not something that I was looking forward to. Oh yeah, you know. But since I've had these changes, my biggest problem is actually knowing how to control my Bible study so that it actually doesn't become a bad thing for me. As in, at the end of the day, you can end up neglecting all your family duties because you're studying, you know, or you don't really accomplish anything in life because you are reading, you're studying or something, which is not very good. So, but the good side of it is I'm enjoying the process. So the whole process of Bible study, for it to become enjoyable, is quite interesting to me. That it's actually something that I enjoy. It's even funny that I enjoy the problems or something that I can't fix or understand in the Bible, you know, or something that if I explain and people are like, nah, that's not a good explanation. I actually find it funny. I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe it's not that good anyway. You know, I'm no longer feeling like tied up to feel like, oh yeah, I've got to prove this, I've got to prove that. I just feel free. And so this is the benefit that I've found. So now I've just found that just reading over and over again just changes the way you look at it. So this is how I'm doing it. Right. So when this happened for me, what actually happened was I lost some friends because they didn't agree with me on some theology issues, you know. But my Bible study just became so much more fun. And my one of my mother's friends, who I call mom, she said something that I'd always heard every day, but it didn't really like resonate. But once I had made that 10, she said, you need to pray 3 times a day. And it was like it was thundering, and I changed. From that day, I changed. I like every single day, I know, morning, afternoon, evening, I'm looking forward to it. But these are things everyone is telling me to do from the time I was 13 years old. But it was just, it's just in the way of my life. But I was in the zone, like my radio was in the right frequency. So I could hear everything clearly. There were no showers. I enjoyed it. I found that loving other people didn't include proving that they were wrong. And you can't believe how beautiful it is to just love people and not worry about whether or not you agree about this or that, to just have that love for people in your heart, which was something that was strange for me, because I think, I'm not blaming my church, but I know that the way I was listening, or the way I was taught, it was almost like a competition. If you're right, someone's got to be wrong. So it was always a competition. So it wasn't really something about what's happening in my heart. It was more about what's happening in my head in terms of what knowledge do I have. But my life changed. And so it's not only that my Bible study changed, the way I look at the way people live, which I call the human experience, changed. The way I look at nature changed. The way I pray, everything changed. So today I'm just sharing one aspect of this, which is on the Bible. The other two things I'm not very experienced in, so I can't really share too well. So we'll hop on to the next part, which is about how it works. So the way it works is, so if I go back just a little bit here and just show you this last part of, so for me, I have said already that, so for me, it's just become tradition now that I read over and over again. So how do I do it? So this is how it works. So this is going to be really quick. It's good that there's only 3 of us. So what we do is we read a book of the Bible, right? We focus on that book until we finish it. So we don't jump around, and like we don't read Genesis today and then read Numbers tomorrow and then the book of John next week. We just go one book at a time, and when we're finished, we add another book. We add another book. But what's happening in the whole process is we're actually building something. It's like assembling a counter or whatever. You buy when you buy something at the shops and it's all in boxes, it just comes as maybe few things that you need to join together. That's how I see the Bible. Every book is a part, it's a component that comes in. So as we understand each part, or as we understand all the parts, we can see, oh, this book is supposed to join to that book that way. And then we are able to find a useful way to go through. So there are several things that we do. So first is we focus on finishing, and then finishing each book. And then secondly, we keep a specific question that makes everything meet up together. The specific question is, what does this story tell me about God? Doesn't matter what you're reading, whether it's a law, a rule, whatever, a song in the Bible. What does this tell me about God? Then the other thing that we do is we don't start reading without praying. And I think that we should continue reading without praying. So all the time, just be praying as you're reading. And then the third one is, so I've talked about being determined. And then, yeah, so that's basically it. So we read through, we ask, what does this story tell me about God? And we don't stop. We just become determined to finish. I'm gonna re-emphasize this part. It's because that's the key. just that consistency. Right. So let me give you an example of what I mean. So let's say we have this story here from Luke chapter 5, verse 12 to 14. And it happened when he was in a certain city that behold, a man who was full of leprosy saw Jesus. He fell on his face and implored him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Then he put out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be cleansed. Immediately the leprosy left him, and he charged him to tell no one, but go show yourself to the priest and make an offering for your cleansing as a testimony to them, just as Moses commanded. So let's say this is part of what you are reading. So your question here would be, what does this story tell me about God, right? And the story would be, and your conclusion would be, look, God is kind. He's willing to cleanse, he's compassionate. He touched the leper, something which he was not allowed to do. So this is the first story this is part of the story. This is your first question. What does this tell me about God? But this is, I think it sounds wrong to say, but this is a surface level, because what we're saying is, because we're reading the whole Bible, we take this story of the cleansing of the leper, and now you're reading the book of Luke, and we join it to the book of Luke. And if we've read the book of Matthew, then we join that little story to the book of Matthew, and we say, okay, what does it mean that the God of heaven is willing to touch a leper, when he's got a big project to save the whole world, and there's this one leper here who's asking for attention? He could easily say, look, I have a very big project. I'm going to send someone to heal you. I've got big business, But he actually stops, touches this guy. And then I've said here, this is just an example of what you might come up with. On reflection, the implication is you are one person. I am one person in God's grand plan, but we can fit in it. Even though he's got a big plan, he's got that time and that willingness to say, oh, what's happening in your life? And get into all the things that are the worst about you. Even though he's got big projects that he's running, he still cares about our little projects. So my point is, this only comes out as you connect the little story to the bigger stories of what God is doing. So we want to connect all the Bible stories together. So, this, I don't have to tell you guys this, because you guys are Christians, you already know this. So the Bible, at least the Bible we use as Protestants, has 66 books in it. Right? The Bible we use as Protestants has 66 books in it, sorry, what am I doing? Yeah, it has 66 books in it. Why? Sorry, I'm trying to clear something here because I messed up. Okay, so our Bible has 66 books in it, right? And it's divided into chapters and verses. What's important to know here is the divisions that we see are not part of the Bible. So if we went back here to this story, the number 5 and the number 12, this punctuation, that's all not part of the Bible. These are things that people put in so we can be able to reference. They're just markers. If you think of them as bookmarkers. So if you read a chapter of a book in the Bible, it doesn't mean you should learn something. It just means this is where you ended. We have to think of it as one story, right? So I know for myself, this was quite one distracting thing, because I thought if I read verse 12, there should be one point, something I should learn from that verse. And if I read the next verse, I should learn something else, because every verse has a lesson for you. That may be true in some cases, but that's not why the verses were put in there. It was just so you can be able to reference. That's all. So that's the first part. And then what we want to learn to do now is we want to even, because we have faith in God as the author of the Bible, we want to connect all the books now, and not say even if I finish the book of Genesis, we're not going to say the book of Genesis is separate from the book of Exodus, as in they teach different things. We join them together and we see what they can bring out if we join them together. I know I've said this before, but just it's important. That's why we do it, because the divisions, even to say Old Testament and New Testament, that's something that someone put in the Bible pages, because the Bible initially was just different books that people gathered, and then they realized, oh, this is the New Testament, this is the Old Testament, but it's just a marker. So what we want to know is internalize the message, and if the markers are legit, we will go with them. So basically, just as a way of illustrating this, is when we watch movies or when we're talking, we never, when we talk with each other, we don't memorize every word someone says. What we do is we listen for the main idea of what someone is saying. Right? That's what we do when we're listening to each other. That's what we do. That's what we're doing when we're that's what we do when we're watching movies. We try to get where is the story going. We try to get where is the story going. This is what we do. So if that's how we approach the stories, that means we are just listening in for the main idea of what is being said. So when we read the Bible, when we read the Bible, what we do is we see, I can hear that voice at the back there. Oh yeah, cool, nice. So when we read the Bible, we are simply trying to get the main idea. So we shouldn't be overburdened by the fact that we don't understand something. It's just like when you're watching a movie or when someone is talking, you don't try to define every word of what they say. You just let the story play out, and then you'll be able to understand what's happening. At least that's been my experience. So if today you read the book of Genesis and end in chapter 6, make it a point that next time you read, you just pick up where you left off. So this is basically how it works. So I think I've made my points there. So now we've talked about the process. Is there any comments or questions that somebody would like to put in right now?
Okay, so just to confirm, you give us these notes afterwards as well, right?
Yeah, I can give you. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what you're saying is basically, oh, sorry. So what you're saying is basically, so like when you start from the beginning, like you read, and then even if you get interrupted, just continue from where you left off and continue go through it like that.
That's right. Exactly. And when we do the obstacles bit, you will see how I used to get distracted and how many of us get distracted along the process, and that actually interferes with you actually learning something. Yeah. If you think about it, nobody watches a movie the way people read the Bible. Nobody reads any book the way people read the Bible. Like if you're watching a movie, you start from the beginning, you get to the end. That's what you do. But with the Bible, people will just dive in wherever they dive in and find what they find that day and go away and come back. Look, it's great because the Bible always has something. But it's also it also means you sort of miss out on other things, because you are the one who's deciding where you want to go. Right. Anyway, Peter, did you want to say anything? Okay.
No, I have to put him on screen.
No. Okay, no. Let's go to the next bit. So now we're going to talk about what we need in order to be able to do this. So basically, there are three things that we need. The first and most important thing is the Bible. The second thing is you need a team. And then the third thing you need is a notebook. None of these things, by notebook, I just mean you need somewhere to write notes. It could be like, I'll show you my notes, or maybe should I show you now? Should I open it? Yeah, I think I have it open here. Yeah, okay. I'll stop the screen share and show you my notes from last year. Okay, so for example, this from last year, this was my notes. If you guys can see this, this was my notes from last year's group. This was my notes from last year's group. You can see this is my yeah, so but what I mean basically is you need to have something somewhere where you can write what you're reading. So when I do the book of Genesis, I can write down things, and you need a place, you know, we're going to get to all this, but you definitely need somewhere where you can keep track of your thoughts, right? I'll say more about that as we go, right? And then you need a team, right? So Bible, we've talked about the structure of the Bible. I think we're probably, if I'm not mistaken, we need a team of people to discuss with, right? The reason why, and when you've got a team, the reason why you need a team is when you're reading something, you can only read it from your perspective. But when you are in a team, other people can see things that you didn't see, right? And that's why it's so important when we do it as a team. And also this helps us with, when you're reading, you miss other things, or you don't understand something, someone else might understand it. Or as they talk, it brings an idea to your head, and then you can understand something that was difficult. So when you have a team really, basically you need a minimum of 3 people. In my opinion, you need a minimum of 3 people to have a viable team, because 2 of you, you know, you might be just always be challenging each other and sending each other the wrong direction. But when there's 3 of you, there's some guarantee that someone is going to see something different. And also with the team, the thing that's important is you need to schedule a time of meeting, right? So, so when you've got a team, you need to schedule a time of meeting. So the team is there for discussion. So what basically the way it works is you read during the week, and then you discuss on a specified day of the week that you have selected as a team. And the reason why a team is quite good is you can actually change the schedule as you're going because of what's happening. So say, for example, it might be somebody's wedding, and that means you can't meet on Tuesday because they were going away for a wedding. So you can actually be like, oh, why don't we meet at such and such a time? But you can actually schedule things in a better way. And then the other thing is, as a team, you need to be able to set pace, right? When you get a team, you set pace. By setting pace, it means you tell yourselves how much are you going to read before each meeting, right? So like what we were doing last year and the year before that was we were going just one book per week. We're just going one book per week, and people would then meet up and discuss. But then sometimes if the book was too small or too big, if it was too big, maybe we split it over a longer time, like 2 weeks. If the book is small, then maybe we can fit in 4 books in 1 week, because you can, right? So this all works, you know, by ear, because you check with the group, is everyone able to go at that pace or not? And then at each meeting, you want to have a person that's going to be making sure things are going according to pace. So each meeting should have a person that's leading out to say, okay, guys, let's talk about this. Okay, guys, it's 1 hour now. Our meeting is supposed to last 1 hour. So it's time up. Other things, we'll talk about them maybe next time, or otherwise just confine them to your notebooks. You are moving on, right? So each meeting will need to have a leader. And also this is, I think, it's a little bit depends, because I know that here in Australia, for us, we're just doing a Zoom, but If you're in Zimbabwe and the other person is in South Africa, maybe you could do Zoom. But maybe if you're just neighbors or you're just family, you can make a schedule at home. I know for me and Melissa, our pace was maybe 5 minutes a day, 6 days a week. And it took us 4 years to 4 years to go through the Bible, but we did manage to get through. So team is very important. Right. Right. Next. Okay, so this is it. Those are the things we need. So now we've talked about the thing. We've talked about how it works. We've talked about what we need. Is there any comments or questions at this point?
So far, so good on my side.
So far, so good. Pizzo. Pizzo is just in and out. Pizzo, check.
Hey, man, I'm just coming back on. I'm not sure what was happening.
Yeah.
Or
I understand.
questions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Comments or questions. So we're just talking about selecting a team. I was just saying you need to have a team. You need to have a schedule. And the importance of having a team and what the team leader does. Each meeting needs to have a team leader. So like last year, we were just rotating who was leading in terms of discussing the book. But the overall plan, I was the one who had the overall plan and to say, okay, guys, next week we're doing 3 books. Is everyone okay? But you just need to have some kind of guidance each time so that you can actually go somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. But did you want to add something? Did you see this slide? Or maybe I'll go back and see.
No. I honestly do not have a question.
Okay.
Because I was on and off. Yeah.
Okay. So when we get to the end, I'll ask if you guys want to have any thoughts about forming teams. Right. Okay. Next one. So this is the. I would say we're going towards the most important things. The most difficult thing is the obstacles that come up once you start reading the Bible, right? The obstacles don't come from the Bible. Sometimes they do, but they come from different sources. But by obstacle, I mean something that's going to let you stop, something that's going to make you stop, or something that's going to divert your reading to something else. Right. So there are obstacles that come from reading, right? The first obstacle is you find enjoyable material. Right. So when you find enjoyable material, so you keep on going to the easy stuff that you enjoy. It may not be easy, but it may just be something that you enjoy. So you keep on reading the stuff that you enjoy. Like maybe, some people might like the book of Proverbs. So they keep on reading the book of Proverbs. Right. Some people might like the Gospels. So they just keep on reading the Gospels because I really like the story of Jesus. That becomes an obstacle to you finishing the Bible. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means you won't finish, of which this program is about how to finish. So one of the things to look out for is watch out for the things that you enjoy, because they may actually distract you from finishing the process. Like you get distracted and you won't finish. And then the second thing is boring material, right? So boring material leads you to skipping it. So for example, maybe you go into 2 Chronicles, or is it 1 Chronicles, and it's just genealogy after genealogy. It's just saying so-and-so gave birth to so-and-so, and so-and-so gave birth to so-and-so, and so-and-so gave birth to so-and-so. Or maybe it's the book of Leviticus saying, oh, and when you offer the goat, cut the tail, cut the, all these different things, which you may find no purpose to and no understanding of. David had so-and-so as his soldier, and he just names all these names, and you just think, what am I doing here? So that stuff is also a way that you end up saying, look, I better stop. It's not really helping me. There are whole books in the Bible that are like that, or that are majorly like that, where you sort of think, I don't think it's helping me, and you end up wanting to move on to something else. And then the last thing is challenging material. By challenging material or repulsive material, maybe you read some really gross story in the Bible. According to you find it to be, something that you can't, like I remember last year we were reading about how Joshua, when he conquered the land of Canaan, he got the kings and he made them to lie down, and then he called the elders and he said to the elders, I want you to put your feet on these people's necks or something like that. And as we were reading, one of the people was like, why does he have to do that? You've already won. Why is he wanting to do that? You know, you can see the disgust, I guess, at the event. So, or there could be things that are difficult to understand. Like maybe you read the book of Ezekiel, where it's describing a temple and you really don't understand what's going on. And then you decide, so I'm just going to stop. It's too difficult, too hard for me, you know, or something that you can't understand. That's the point. If we know these things, it prepares us in our mind that, I'm gonna start reading the Bible. I'm gonna find things I enjoy. I'm gonna find things that I might categorize as boring, and I might find things that are challenging or repulsive. And then there are obstacles from within and obstacles from without. So we've talked about obstacles from the Bible itself, like the reading process, and now we're going to talk about the obstacles that come from life. So the business of life, I mean, being busy. I hesitate to give examples, but I know that there are several people that have started to say, look, I'm going to read the Bible, I'm going to go through. But somehow in the process of life, you know, you need to pay your bills. You need to take your kids to school. You need to find a job, etc. It seems that then falls by the wayside. That's an obstacle. That's obstacle number one. That's why it's so important if you're wanting to do this, to make a decision, the same sort of decision that you make when you're saying, I now have a job. You know, that's the level at which you want to make the decision, where you're saying, it doesn't matter what's happening, I'm reading through the Bible. So every single day, you know, I've got a project, I'm going through the Bible and I'm going to go through and I will finish. Right? The other thing from outside, this is not from the Bible. So there are interesting ideas that can come up from other people in life. So maybe you go somewhere and someone comes up with some story and says, well, you know, if you read the book of Daniel, you really understand that these COVID vaccines are, you know, that's what Daniel was talking about. And next thing, you're supposed to be reading the book of Psalms. No, you're not doing that anymore because you want to understand vaccines in the book of Daniel. So now you're lost in terms of getting to your end goal, you know, or you go to church, they preach about Paul and how he sang and what, and then that really touches your soul. You think it's a great story. So now you heard someone talking, so you go back home, you're supposed to be reading the Bible. You'll be like, what's the difference between reading, you know, about Zechariah and reading about Paul? It's all in the Bible. Let me go back to Paul because that was really an important point. But it's an obstacle in the sense that it's now taking you away from your goal. So my advice would be, whatever interesting ideas come up, I'm going to show how that works. And then the other thing that becomes an obstacle is you learn a lesson, right? You learn a lesson as you're studying. So now you're trying to apply that lesson. Maybe you discover how important family is, because I don't know, you've been reading some part of the Bible and you realize family is so important. Now you start a job. You're now teaching everyone how important family is, right? So that's now your focus. Wake up in the morning, you're praying, God, please help me to find more stuff to show how important family is. And now that's all you're studying, because that's what you learned from the Bible. So the lesson that you learned actually in the Bible is now stopping you from finishing reading the Bible, because you're now so happy with this thing that you've learned and you want to share with others. But that's actually now a distraction from finishing your goal. The reason we're saying it's a distraction is we're not saying these are bad things. We're just saying they're things that are stopping you from reaching that goal of finishing reading the Bible. Right? So that's, or even trying to apply. Yeah, so I think we've covered those things. Now, the other obstacle is team issues that come up, right? So you can have holidays, people are not coming for the meeting, some people are not able to finish the book, or you don't have anyone to be a team with, you know, you want to do it, but you've got no one to be a team with. So let's start. I think maybe we can, on this slide, we can just jump into the solutions for this one. The solution with team issues, there are several things we can do. We can be part of a team, or we can observe a team in progress, or a team that's done it before. So I might be able to share one or two different places where people have gone through the Bible, and you can sort of see what they're talking about, and you can compare with what you are learning yourself. So that's one way to overcome the team issues. The other one, the way we were doing it was we would have a recording, right? So like we're doing right now, we would have a recording. And if someone didn't make it to the meeting, we'll just share with them the recording. So but they would share with us their notes. So we're now going to, the biggest defender and the biggest answer to all these problems is your notebook, right? Because the notebook keeps you on task. Like it keeps you on task, and it helps you to track where you are. So even if you can't make it to a meeting, you can send your notes. Say, guys, I can't make it for the book of Genesis today, but I actually have my notes here. And then you just send your notes. And when people are discussing, they can say, oh, well, Pitso said A, B, C, D. And what do you think he was meaning? And then people can go off your notes. So in this way, you're also participating, even though you're not there, but that means you're on task. And also when interesting ideas come up, this is where the notebook is so important, because when interesting ideas come up, you can jot them down in your notebook. So now you haven't ignored them. You can actually jot them down in your notebook to say, well, I need to look at this idea a little bit more. But the notebook has saved you, because the notebook is for writing what you are learning about God as you go through the Bible. But all the interesting ideas and the questions, all the things, you just keep track of them. I think it would be cool if I can you guys still see the screen, or it's no longer sharing the screen, right?
Just no sharing. I can see your face.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, that's because I wanted to I did show you this then. I just want to show one more time what the notebook can do for you. Right? So if you look at this, so in my notebook, you can see here, I've got other people's notes when people would send me notes, but I didn't have them here. I've got it in my phone, I guess. Other people's notes, I would put them here. When people send me notes, I'd put them here, and we'd talk about what they've said. And this is where I would write my main ideas of what I'm learning from each book of the Bible. And then the questions that I have, I would write them here as I was going. As you can see, there wasn't too many, but I did have some. And then the questions that others have, I would write them on the side here. Right, so, and then at the end, we're going to talk about this. And then at the end, you can see I've got my final summary. So that's why a notebook is important, because it can actually organize you, and you can be able to know what you're doing. So definitely, I encourage you. I encourage you. Definitely, if you're going to do this, have somewhere where you're writing, where you can track your thoughts and all that. All right. Right. And then now we can have a bit of a discussion again. If there's someone with anything to say, well, we're right at the end almost. So far, so good.
No, so far so good. I think the key thing is, like you said, there's times when the schedule will be there, like you can't make the meeting, but I think, like you said, to continue to find time to, so continue as if, so just by missing that, so you're actually writing down the notes and you're actually sharing. I think you have to keep the momentum, because if you stop once, then it's now difficult to
start again,
to catch up. And so yeah, so you have to keep doing something. I think that's the important thing. Keep the momentum going, basically.
That's it. All right, let's get to our obstacles. We've done them. Pitso, you good? Is Pitso gone? Peter,
Is there?
yeah, are you good? Do you have anything to add? I can't hear
He's
you,
on
mate.
mute. Oh, he's muted.
Yeah, he's muted. Peter. That's okay. Anyway, let's continue.
Hello?
Yeah. I'm saying, do you have any comment to add or something to say?
Not as yet. No.
Not as yet. Okay. So now let's go into the nitty-gritty. This part is not as important as the other bits, but so how to begin? This is my suggestion. Like if you have a group, how to begin. You can start from Genesis and then you read the book of Job and then you go Exodus. You can do Job first. My opinion is you do Job first and then Genesis. I think I've written this wrong. It's supposed to be Job first, then Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Or you can start with the book of John, right? And then do the book of Job, and then do the book of Genesis, and then go in order from there. And then the other option is you can start by reading the Gospels. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then you go back, Job, Genesis, and start from there. There's an interesting thing that one group did last 2 years ago. They did, that was my first year of doing this anyway. So the other group, what they did, they started from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then they did the whole New Testament, except for the book of Revelation, and then they went to the Old Testament.
No, I have an Old Testament book.
Yeah, so there are different ways to do it. So these are my 3 suggested ones. If you ask me for my own recommendation, I would recommend the second one. Like do that second one. Now the question, I think I should preempt this question before someone brings it up. Why the book of Job first in the Old Testament? Well, when you read the Old Testament, you discover that it's a story. So like Genesis will end with Joseph in Egypt. And then Exodus will start with the Israelites in Egypt, right? And then from there, the Exodus will end when they are now in the desert. Leviticus, they are in the desert. Numbers, they are moving in the desert. Deuteronomy, they are about to get into the promised land. Joshua, they're getting into the promised land. So there's a flow in the stories. So if you just leave the book of Job any way it is, it messes up the flow of the story. And also, when you read the book of Job, you'll find that it brings up some important subjects that sort of orient the whole story. It makes it easier to understand the story if you start with the book of Job, because it brings up the devil and things like that, which may be a little bit harder to see in the other parts of the Bible. So for 2 reasons, because it seems a little bit out of sync with the rest of the flow, but secondly, because it also provides a good background on which to understand the rest of the stories. Yeah. Okay. So, Cindy is here. Hi, Cindy. I hope she's on her phone. We're nearly at the end, so I wonder how this is going to go. So, hi, Cindy.
Hello.
Hi, Cindy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for joining us. We are nearly at the end, Cindy, but we're delighted that you've joined us.
Yeah, I only just got the details today, so.
Oh yeah, that's all my fault. So I'm just sharing with these guys here that we've gone. I'll catch you up on the other stuff, but we are now at a stage where we're talking about how to begin. So there are basically 3 options, and I've just shared these 3 options here. We can start from the book of Genesis, and Job, and then read the whole Old Testament, or we can do the book of John and then go back to the Old Testament and do Job and then Genesis and then do all the other books. Or we can do the Gospels and then we do the book of Job and then do all the other books. So the way the process, so I've just justified why we can do the book of Job first. Why when you're doing the Old Testament, it's important to do the book of Job first or really early, because it's different from all the other stories in that it's not connected. So all the other stories are connected. In Genesis, you have the Israelites. In Exodus, you've got Israelites. As you continue, the Israelites. But in the book of Job, there's no Israelites. You know, so it's a little bit different.
In my Old Testament, the book of Job, it has Israelites in my book.
Okay, so yeah, that was another participant here whose opinions have been uninvited. But anyway, so the book, but Tato, can you please wait? Let me finish. So when we do the book of Job, it gives us two things. It allows us to form the other stories as they are connected to each other. And then it also gives us a bigger background to understand the rest of the stories, because it brings up the devil really early. And so when we actually do the book of Job, you see how it works well. So now the next part, let me see. Oh, this is it, guys. We're about to go to, I think, probably the most important bits. I'm not sure. Is there any comments or questions so far?
No.
No. Okay.
Tony,
Yes.
number 3 of the third option there.
Yes.
You did not.
Why
give
start with the Gospels? Okay. Okay, so why the advantage of starting with the Gospels is it's like cheating. You sort of know the answer, right? You sort of know the answer to all the problems you get in the Old Testament. If you start with the New Testament, especially if you start with the Gospels, the story of Jesus, it will make it easier to answer the big problems that you might face in the Old Testament. And also it's a shortcut because my opinion is that we need to trust in God. So I think that it's easier to trust in God when you understand the way Jesus lived. So that's why I think it's always better to start with the Gospels. That would be my recommendation. But some people, like last year, I couldn't believe it. I recommended we start with the New Testament, and everyone said, no, we want to start with Genesis. Right? So that's what we did. It was fun though. So those are the different options that are there. Uche, did you want to say anything?
No, for this part, I'm good.
Awesome. Okay. So, all right, cool. Now, so this is where this is where we get to, guys. Are you guys interested in, so Cindy, to catch you up some more. So what we did at the beginning is I explained that this is an orientation meeting, just to give people different clues and ideas of what to do, not necessarily to say whoever is in this meeting needs to come back for the next one or something like that. It's just to give each other different ideas of what we can do. So, but in this part now, I'm just wondering if you guys would like to do this with me next year, or this is actually next year, isn't it? So if you guys would like to try this year with me. So yeah, so Cindy, to explain here, so these guys are in Africa, right? The two guys on the meeting today, they are in Africa. You and I, we are in Australia, so we're in a little bit of a different situation. Peter, what say you?
About do you want to do this with us, or do you think maybe you might be
needing to explore with others. Maybe let's do this. Maybe let's plan out first and see what it would look like. And then if people can't do it, then at least we can share different ideas of where else people can be able to get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I personally think, like, for me, let's say it's the first time, right?
Yeah.
Doing this thing. I would rather maybe do it with people who've done it before, like you, and get the hang of it first.
Yep.
Then after maybe getting some experience, then I can now also move on to say, okay, I can do with other people. But for now, I think for the purposes of being effective and learning effectively, I think I would rather maybe just do this with you.
So let me ask, how does everyone feel about today? This time. Or
like
what I don't like about this time, like for example, Ushe goes to church on Sunday. So this would be eating into his time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think maybe it might not be a wise setup. What looks like a good time for you, Ushe, in a week?
Yes. So normally, when did you do it? Like last year? Was it this time on the Sunday?
Last year we were doing Friday 6 p.m. because we're doing Friday 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Actually, we started on Saturday afternoon, but most of them were SDS, so they always had something on Saturday. So we ended up moving it to Friday evening.
Yeah, I think that would work for me as well. It's better that way, I think, because once the weekend starts, it's hectic, but I think the Fridays are better.
Friday evening?
So I think, So is it evening my side or your side?
It will be evening our side. So it will be morning. So how would you handle? Don't you work? My friend Peter also works. So So the other way we can do it is we can do evening your time, but it just means it will be 4 a.m. my side, and I'll just have to figure out what in this situation looks like.
Yeah. So Peter, on your side, what do you think in terms of the times? Morning, evenings, afternoon? What's better for you?
Evenings are better because you pretty much have maybe wrapped up the day, and the chances of getting disturbed, well, I'm speaking for myself, are minimal.
Okay.
The kids and stuff.
So Friday evenings sounds Friday evening, Southern African time is a plan for you guys. So I can do that. I know I can do that. But
Tony, I was thinking let's just do a poll and see if we can have like 2 or 3 options of time where we can all
meet. Okay.
Meet. Then we choose the best time.
Well, Cindy, this is unfair on you because you've just jumped in now. So you don't know what we've talked about. So I don't know whether to ask you what your availability looks like. Hi, Cindy, can you hear me? Cindy. I don't know if Cindy is still about. Is she muted? I don't know. It doesn't sound like.
Oh, and maybe while we wait for Cindy, how long are the meetings, by the way?
Each session. It depends on what you guys want. So I think if we do 1 hour, it will be the best. So if we do 7 to 8 on Friday, or if you guys want to do 8 to 9, whatever, it's fine with me.
Yeah, like something like 7 to 8 work.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, cool. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, yeah. So
but now we also need to worry about you. To you, it's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay because I don't work on
early,
Saturday. That's okay because I don't work on Saturday. Like this.
But are you comfortable? Are you comfortable to wake up at 4 a.m. together with Cindy?
No, Cindy is definitely not going to be able to wake up at 4 a.m. So and she's dropped out now. So I'll have to ask her what her situation looks like.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. But don't
can
worry
you
about
let us
me.
know, like what work. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So for me that's okay. But I was just Cindy. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, Cindy, I was just wondering because we've actually come to the end. And so what these guys have come to is they're gonna have the meeting at in the evening, but they are in Africa. So it will be like 4 a.m. over here. It will be like 4 a.m. over, which is on Saturdays. For me,
fine.
that's I Cindy, don't surprise me. Don't surprise.
She said it. She said it's fine. Oh wow. Okay.
Look, no. I think Cindy thought I said 4 p.m. Right?
No, you said 4 a.m.
Okay. So are you happy to try that and see how you go? Because I was thinking because I've still got a few more people in Australia who I think will be coming along, so we can actually have a decent hour in Australian time. But I know that I'm always up that early, so I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm always up from about 3 o'clock onwards, so I'm all right.
Oh, so we're cooking with Gus then.
Oh, nice.
All right. Okay, so then that's okay. So that means our next meeting will be Friday, 7 p.m. your time, you guys, and it will be 4 a.m. our time.
Yeah.
And we give it so if that's what we're doing, well, which option do you guys want to do? Which option do you want to do?
Of the three.
Yeah, of the three. So are you guys happy to do one book a week? Well, it would depend on the option, I guess. But I think all of them, they're doable as one book per week. Which of the three options would you like? I'll give you my suggestion, and then like you guys can pick what you want. I think that, or maybe Peter, you pick a suggestion that you want or something? Which of these three would you like?
Okay. I'll start with one. I would suggest one.
You would suggest one. You feel this is a. What about you, Ushe? Which way do you go?
Remember, for me, I'm speaking for myself. Remember, it's the first time, so
yeah, that's okay.
I just want to start with yeah.
Ushe, what do you say?
Yeah, I think for me, because it's the first time, I was going to take your suggestion to see what you're going to recommend.
Oh, cool. So I would say
See me
2. So that means 2 votes for me.
So I do. Wait,
not
there's
yet.
Cindy. Wait,
Cindy,
there's Cindy. Yeah.
For me, I don't mind because I think all of it's just as important as the other. So I'm quite happy to go with whatever you decide.
Okay, then. So, Ushe, are you willing to defer to Pizzo? I'm willing to defer to Pizzo, so it's up to you, Ushe.
Yeah, I'm fine. Let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Yes. So
Yeah,
it's
okay,
one, right?
Pizzo.
Wait.
Yep, we'll defer to
No,
you.
I mean I'm okay with any of the three, but you asked for my suggestion, Angit.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
And we're going with your suggestion. I don't think we should argue about this. Thank you. So we'll go with your suggestion. It's fine.
okay, cool.
Yeah, it's fine. There's a reason why you chose what you chose, and we've deferred to you. It's fine. So that means, guys,
This is rigged. Okay, cool.
so next week that means next week we're doing the book of Job.
Okay.
Right.
All right,
So
cool.
yeah. So just I think maybe just an important okay, maybe do you guys want to tell Cindy what's the big takeaways? Because otherwise I will just keep going. What do you say? What's the most important things to remember here?
I think the key thing is, like you said, I mean, well, I think as we're starting with option 2, right?
No, option 1.
The first option I was going to say. Sorry, option 1. Okay. Oh, so we're doing option 1.
Yeah,
okay.
Because that's what Pizzo chose.
Yes. But I think one of the highlights, like you said, just to keep going. And sometimes you start on a process, you've got a schedule, and if something happens and you seem to miss it, and then somehow you feel like you don't be disheartened. Just continue doing it take
Yeah.
notes, continue taking notes, even if you catch up, because I think the key thing is to keep the momentum going. And
Yep.
also to not see it as, you know, how, like you said, people sometimes you open the Bible and just open randomly and take that particular point and analyze it. But the aim now is to see it as one big story. So
Yep.
you're not reading one or two verses to say, aha, let me see what this verse is saying. No, you're reading as a whole. So
Yep.
I think what we're doing now in terms of the where we're starting from, we're doing that because we want to get the bigger picture. So, you know, even if you are continuing, let's say when we're in Genesis, if we're not
Yep.
finished Genesis, let's continue to finish it first before we say, I think the first verses are saying this. So I think
That's
that's a good way to see it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think the most important thing for me, what we need, maybe if I was to show Cindy the best picture of all this, yeah, this is the most important one. So we need a Bible. We have a team. So we've got a Bible. We've got a team. I think the bit that maybe might be important here. We are trying to always have a notebook. Okay, and this leads, it's a nice segue into, so we want to keep notes of what we're learning as we're going. And as we go, as we continue, you sort of refine the art of taking the notes, of writing your own notes. I want to show, because it's a nice segue into the most important part, which I had said. What we are doing, like Usha said, is the goal is to come up with a one coherent picture. This picture doesn't come up as you're going. It comes at the end. So it's good to go through, but once we've gone through, we want to take time and sort of ask ourselves, what have I just seen? So by the end, when we get to December, we want to be able to say, this is what I believe about God. So I'll show my notes one more time to show what I mean. So, like for example, we said in the book of Genesis, you can see here, when I did the book of Genesis, I have here the picture of God that I have in this book. That is, what does this book tell me about God, right? And then for the book of Job, I have the character of God. This is the little summary at the end of each book. I've got a little summary, right? Now, when we finish the book of Revelation and everything, we then want to go to those little summaries and we piece them together to write one story based on what we've read. So, but by far the most important thing, is to get that thing done. Right. So the most important thing is to get the notes done, then to have that one picture. So you can read and finish. I learned this year, because the other years I didn't realize that this was an important thing to tell everybody. When you finish, it's well done. But to really get the juice out of the story, it's to chew on the story, to think about, what does it mean? What does it mean, the whole story? And then you draw your full picture like the one I just showed. And that brings us to the end, guys. That brings us to the end of our discussion. So I just want to say thank you very much, guys, for showing up. Really appreciate it. I don't know if there's anyone who wants to say anything at this moment. So, yeah, Cindy, can you send your email in the chat, or maybe you can give me your email at church or something. Then I can send you the recording of this meeting. Then you can see all the other stuff that we talked about. Yeah, sure. Okay. Anybody with anything to say at the moment, or it's all good?
Okay. How do we do reminders? Sometimes we forget, but I think it's something we shouldn't forget. But I'm just saying. Yeah.
So I'll just send a link for the next meeting. Maybe sometime during the week. I just send a link with the next meeting, and then for Cindy it will be in the church bulletin. So that makes it easier. Yeah. I'll send a link with a reminder of what we're doing. So, or just to talk about reading. So there's two ways to read the Bible. The one way is you can actually get a physical copy of the book and read it. The other way is you can listen to it. So the last 2 years, I've been doing the audio where I'm just listening to the book. So I could listen to it when I was going to work. I could listen to it when I was driving. I could listen to it when I was doing some duties at home, because I'm just listening to it, and then I can think about it and then write notes. That's one way. The other way is you take the physical book and read it. So
Yeah.
My advice is, if the book seems too long for you, then start with the audio and then do your notes. But if you've got the time, then do the physical reading. So I'm going to challenge myself this year to move away from the audio system and do the actual reading, because I want to see how it would work for someone who doesn't have access to internet or audio. Yeah. So that's how I'm going to try it out. Okay, so is there anything else? So that's it. I was gonna share, maybe I'll share next week. There's several other groups of people that do this, and there's I'll share more stuff with different people doing it, because I just think it's good to have variety in terms of what we observe and see. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Would you like me to pray, and this is the end?
Yeah.
Okay, let's pray.
Yep.
Thank you, God, for the meeting, and thank you for my friends that have joined me to help me have a lovely year. Because we definitely all enjoy and trust you, and we trust the Bible. So we pray that as we go through this journey this year, please may you be with us, so that the things we talk about may actually be beneficial, and they may change our journeys in life, God, so that our journey always goes in line with you. So thank you so much for all this. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. So we'll see each other on Friday at 7 p.m., 4 a.m. on our side.
Lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you
Bye.
very much, guys. Bye.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.